The world has many great mysterious places on Earth that have a lot of great history and culture surrounding what could be its legends. And here on FTD Facts, we've looked at many of these great cultures and countries and have discovered what is great about them. But today, we go across the vast oceans and into the desert worlds of the African continent to visit a great country that is not only amazing for its history, but has a culture that strives under the beating sun of life and continues with great positive energy. Welcome to the lovely, beautiful, and historic country of Egypt. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to FTD Facts. My name is Dave Walpole, and today I am really excited. You guys are reading it in the title. We just kind of mentioned it. We are talking about Egypt, and man, I'm excited for this because, as always, here on the channel, we do some polls, and you guys, like a couple of weeks ago, were like, yo, we want to see Egypt next. But we've been doing some FIFA stuff, just kind of, because FIFA's just near the end. So now we're focusing back on countries, and man, have we got a lot coming out for you. But Egypt, boom, this is going to be this video, and I hope you guys are excited as I am, because a lot of you guys were like, let's learn about Egypt. Which reminds me, guys, if you are all new to this channel and you love learning about different cultures and countries and people and places from all around the world, you'll want to hit that subscribe button because, man, it's just so great when you can learn about new countries and then you can go tell your friends about these countries and you get to feel really smart. It's great. Trust me. I do it all the time. People are like, yo, man, I did not know that. Like, for example, this video, I got a fact that just blew me away. It blew my mom away, and it's going to blow you guys away. It's really cool. We'll get to it in this video. So this great country known as Egypt, let's get into the basics. It has a population of 97,290,300 people, which makes it rank with that lucky number 13th in the world when it comes to population. Now, keep in mind, this is just a 2018 estimate because back in 2017, their census stated that the country had 94 million people, which is pretty crazy because I guess that means they had 3 million people born in the country this year. Maybe more people moved, I don't know. But as for all these people, they live in an area of approximately a land size of 1.01 million kilometers square, making Egypt a pretty big country. As a matter of fact, it ranks 29th in the world when it comes to land size. And with that land size and its population, it ranks 118th when it comes to population density, having 96 people per kilometer square. Now, okay, here on the channel, normally we talk about really positive things about the countries, and for this video, I mean, I don't really want to start off on a negative one, but this is just a fact that kind of came out right away. And the reason I got to talk about it is because when I talk about land size, I usually talk about water percentage. Because as for Egypt, it has a water percentage of 0.632%. And that's pretty crazy that it has such a low percentage of water, and water is a big issue within this country. As a matter of fact, it's not just access to water, but over half of the population doesn't have access to clean sanitary water, which is a big problem in Egypt. And unfortunately, because of that, they say approximately 50,000 children die a year because of diarrhea. So yeah, just, I know it's a bad thing to start with, but because I was talking about water percentage, I just want to get that bad one out there, okay? Let's move on. Let's talk about some good things about the country. Now, one thing is when it comes to all this water, most of it actually comes from the Nile River. And it should be known that the Nile River is considered the second largest river in the entire world, coming in at a total length of 6,853 kilometers long. Now, of course, there's been a lot of arguments between whether or not the Nile is longer or whether or not the Amazon River is longer, but they're actually pretty close to each other. And although for some they may believe the Amazon River is longer, the Nile River is actually one of the most important rivers in all of human history. The reason for this is because most Egyptian cities in not just the modern world, but also during the ancient Egyptian times, are currently or were constructed along the riverbed within Egypt, and thus in history it helped us create civilization, which has been built up to the modern world we know today. And with that in mind, let's take a look at the GDP. Now, for these videos, we like to use the purchasing power parity because it's a great way to compare nations. Now, for Egypt's GDP purchasing power parity, it sits at approximately $1.201 trillion. Now, that's just a 2017 estimate, but it currently ranks 21st in the world when it comes to GDP, so that's pretty good. As for the GDP per capita, though, this is where it becomes a little bit of a problem, as the per capita lists Egypt having approximately approximately $12,671 per person, making it sit at about 100th in the world, and that's something that they're greatly trying to improve. And to go further into this GDP, we need to look at the exports of the country. For example, the exports of Egypt sit at approximately $27.7 billion, ranking 59th in the world. Now, the biggest thing that Egypt exports is obviously crude petroleum, which sits at approximately 14%. But let's not forget good old-fashioned Egyptian gold, which makes up 10% of all the exports within the country. And those two are just like the obvious exports that people think of when you think of Egypt. Because for some people in the world, they may not think that agriculture is actually a big thing, partially because they've probably seen a lot of movies of Egypt and they think, well, it's maybe just a big, dry desert sort of country. And although they say that the desert makes up about 90% of all of Egypt, they are actually the largest producers and cultivators for dates out of any country in the world. And as for figs, they stand at second in the world. However, they also sit at fourth in the world for strawberries, onions, buffalo milk, and eggplants. And actually, when it comes to your tomatoes and watermelons, a lot of people actually get these from Egypt because, well, they sit at fifth in the world. And for its agriculture, it actually makes up over 29% of the workforce. And oddly enough, out of all the Arab countries, Egypt is one country that isn't dependent on as much oil as the others. As a matter of fact, in 2018, it had the largest GDP that was non-oil based out of all the Arab countries. So there you go, guys. As much as you may think it's just oil coming from Egypt and that they have no agriculture, we're a little bit wrong on that one. Now let's quickly jump over to imports because they sit at approximately $68.2 billion, ranking 42nd in the world. Now the largest thing that they import is refined petroleum and petrol gas, with a total of 9.9% of its imports. But also, Egypt is a huge importer of wheat, which makes up about 4% of its imports. As a matter of fact, Egypt has such strong relations with the United States when it comes to wheat that they are the largest wheat market for the United States, coming in at a total of $1 billion, which has the United States supplying up to 46% of all of Egypt's wheat needs. Now, for this economy, it is all under supervision from a unitary, semi-presidential government, which means they actually have a president and a prime minister. I did not know that. With the current president of the country being Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and the prime minister being Mustafa Madbouli. And of course, at the height of this all, the capital of the entire country is, you probably guessed it, Cairo. Now, Cairo itself is one of the largest cities in not only Egypt, but the African continent, and it's considered the 15th largest city in the entire world. Now, modern Cairo was founded in 969 AD by the Fatimid dynasty. But however, the ground of which the new city stands was at one point major spots of ancient Egyptian culture. For example, Old Cairo predates the Fatimid dynasty, and because of its great history, it's not only one of the world's oldest Arabic cities, but it's also been designated a World Heritage Site since 1979. So of course, when we talk about heritage and Egypt, we gotta mention the fact that it has a lot of it, like a lot of heritage. As during the height of the ancient world, it was a pinnacle for multiple accomplishments for humanity. And what I mean by that, for example, is they are still trying to figure out how they actually built the pyramids. I mean, they have really a kind of good guesses, but truthfully, some scientists are going, we still don't really know. But one thing that's very interesting about its history is their artifacts. And for example, let's take the oldest piece of clothing that was worn by a human being, which was found in Egypt. Now, this was more or less a dress than any random piece of clothing that is known as the Tarkhan dress. And it was discovered in 913 AD and is approximately over 5,000 years old and is currently at the University College of London. Now, Egypt is a very, very big and defined country, but if you go down to the southern area of the border, you'll notice that its border is dotted instead of straight. And this particular dotted region on the border is very well known as Bur Tawil, and it is a section between Egypt and Sudan that has not been claimed by either countries. Being 2,060 kilometers square, it is different from the triangle territory to the right, known as the Halaib Triangle, which has a land size of approximately 20,580 kilometers square. Now, as for the Halaib Triangle, it is one area that is actually disputed between these two countries, as it was an administrative boundary set by the British in 1902. And currently for this region, Egypt asserts its political boundary, while Sudan has administrative boundary. So basically, there's a lot of confusion confusion of who kind of owns this area going back and forth between the two countries. But as for Berto Wheel off to the left, it is the only region on Earth that is considered habitable that is not claimed by any known government. Now, one thing that we all know about the history of Egypt is that they were really great builders and artists. But one thing that is not really talked about when it comes to the history of Egypt is how the Egyptians created what is considered the first real synthetic pigment. Now, it is known as Egyptian blue, and it is seen in many drawings on the walls and hieroglyphics. And for this particular type of pigment, it was used for thousands of years. It is also known as calcium copper silicate, and although more popularly known as Egyptian blue, especially by the English since its term was coined in 1809, some people also call it cerulean. And lastly, guys, this is the fact that I was telling you about earlier, the one that totally blew me away, the one that I think you guys might get blown away by, and that is that the Statue of Liberty in America was not originally going to go to America, but was actually gonna go to Egypt. That is right, the original sketches for the Statue of Liberty didn't have her designed as a Roman woman, but as a Muslim woman in a veil. This is because the original sculptor, Frederick August Bartholdi, originally intended to have the Statue of Liberty be a beacon that was guarding the newly designed Suez Canal, which opened in 1869. And at that time, it was going to be known as Egypt carving the light to Asia. However, unfortunately, Egypt actually rejected this plan outright, and instead he decided to pitch it towards the Americans, and change the Muslim look of what is now known as the Statue of Liberty to a Roman-looking woman. So there you go, guys. That are some amazing facts about Egypt, and I hope you guys learned something great here today. My name is Dave Walpole, and guys, I'm just so happy to have learned some of these great facts, and I hope you guys are too. Again, keep in mind, we like to do a lot of recommendations for you guys, so be sure to let us know down there in the comment section below what you guys want us to talk about next. Also, subscribe if it's your first time here, and if you guys want to learn about more cultures and countries from around the world, because that's what we do. But this is the country of Egypt, a strong and noble country that sure has had its ups and downs, its problems and its beautiful aspects. Egypt is a country like others that has many important stories that reminds us of who we are and where we come from. A country that strives to progress further for the positive. This is the people, country, and culture of Egypt, where the land may be desert, but its heart is filled with life. Thanks for watching, guys. Alright, so if you like this stuff, here's some playlists of some other countries that you guys can check out. Trust me, check them out, guys, because you'll feel really awesome after being so educated. You can impress your friends. It's great. I do it all the time. So be sure to tune in to us every single day, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.